I never expected to walk into my own house and feel like a stranger. The walls I painted, the furniture we picked together, the scent of her perfume. It all felt like a joke. A cruel, twisted joke. But the worst part? The sounds. Soft laughter. Heavy breathing. The kind of noises a husband should never hear from behind a locked bedroom door. I stood frozen in the hallway, my heart pounding so hard it made my vision blur. I had just come back early from a work trip. Flight got canceled. Some scheduling mix-up. I didn't even text her. I figured she'd be home, maybe curled up on the couch with a glass of wine, waiting for me. I was right about the wine. The bottle sat on the kitchen counter half empty. 2 glasses. My stomach turned to stone. Something inside me snapped. My hands balled into fists. My breath came in ragged gasps, and every muscle in my body screamed at me to kick the door down. But I didn't. I needed to see it. I needed proof. So I stepped back and did the next best thing. I pulled out my phone, switched on the camera, and pressed record. With slow, careful steps, I walked toward the bedroom. My own damn bedroom. The door wasn't locked after all, just slightly ajar. I pushed it open an inch. Enough to see. Enough to confirm what I already knew. There she was, Emily, my wife of 6 years, her body wrapped around some sweaty, smug-looking asshole like she didn't have a care in the world, like she hadn't promised me forever, like she hadn't whispered, "I love you," just a few nights ago. I should have felt pain, sadness, maybe even heartbreak, but all I felt was cold, the kind of cold that makes a man dangerous. I let the video roll for a few seconds, capturing the evidence, the proof, the betrayal. Then, I pushed the door open wider. Emily's head snapped toward me. For a split second, I saw it, the pure, raw horror in her eyes. She scrambled back, pulling the sheets around her. The guy beside her, some gym rat-looking piece of trash, sat up, confused. Then she did what I should have expected. She lied. "Honey, it's not what it looks like." A laugh burst out of me, bitter and sharp. "Not what it looks like?" I waved my phone at her. "You want to try that again? Or should I replay the footage for you?" Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Then the idiot in my bed decided to speak. "Dude, maybe we should all calm down." I cut him off with a glare so cold he actually flinched. "Get out." Emily grabbed his arm. "No, wait. This is just a misunderstanding." I took a step closer. "You misunderstand me, Emily." I said get. The F *****. Out. The guy didn't need more convincing. He scrambled out of bed, grabbing his pants off the floor. "Man, I didn't know she was married, I swear." I laughed again, a sound so hollow it didn't even feel like it came from me. "Oh yeah? That's what she told you?" He looked at her, realization dawning on his dumb face. "You said you were single." Emily's face twisted, and for a second, I thought she'd start crying. But no, she wasn't sad. She was angry at me, like I was the problem. Like I had no right to be upset that my wife was rolling around with some stranger in our bed. "Why are you even home?" she snapped, voice sharp and defensive. I stared at her, feeling something inside me crack. "That's your question? Not I'm sorry or I can explain." She crossed her arms, the sheet barely clinging to her. "You were supposed to be gone for another 2 days. Unbelievable." I turned to the guy. "I gave you your chance. Get out before I change my mind." He didn't wait for a second warning. Barefoot and shirtless, he bolted past me like his life depended on it. Emily, on the other hand, just sat there, arms crossed, chin lifted in defiance. No guilt, no shame, just that cold, calculating look she got when she knew she'd screwed up and was about to spin some ridiculous excuse. "You're overreacting," she said finally. I felt something dark crawl up my spine. Overreacting. "It was just a moment of weakness," she continued, voice suddenly softer. "I love you, Alex. This doesn't change anything." I let out a slow breath, my hands shaking from sheer rage. "It changes everything, Emily." Her expression flickered. "You don't have to do anything drastic. Let's talk about this like adults." Talk. She wanted to talk now? I took a step back, shaking my head. No, Emily. We're past that. And with that, I turned and walked out. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I walked out of that bedroom, but I wasn't done. Not even close. My mind was already working through the next steps, through the consequences of what I'd just seen. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. That wasn't my style. No, I had a better idea. Emily wanted to lie. She wanted to disrespect me in my own home, in my own bed. Fine. She was about to learn what it felt like to be blindsided. I walked into the living room, grabbed my car keys, and headed for the door. I heard her footsteps behind me, quick and nervous. Alex! Wait! I didn't. I stepped outside, into the cool night air, and made my way to my car. She caught up, still wrapped in a robe, her hair a mess, her face a mixture of anger and desperation. You can't just leave like this, she said, reaching for my arm. I pulled away before she could touch me. You don't get to tell me what I can and can't do, Emily. My voice was calm, too calm. I could see it in her eyes. She didn't like that. She wanted a reaction. She wanted a fight. Where are you even going? She asked. I opened the car door. Somewhere that doesn't reek of betrayal. That hit home. Her face twisted, but instead of guilt, all I saw was irritation. Like I was inconveniencing her. Like I was the one ruining her night. She folded her arms. So that's it? You're just gonna run away? I leaned on the doorframe, staring at her. No. I'm going to make sure you regret this. That got her. Her lips parted slightly, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her face. Alex, you're being... I didn't wait for the rest. I got in the car and slammed the door shut. Her mouth was still moving as I reversed out of the driveway, but I didn't care. Whatever excuse, whatever manipulation she had lined up, I didn't need to hear it. I drove. Not to a bar. Not to a friend's place. Not anywhere predictable. I needed time to think, to process, to plan. So I drove aimlessly, headlights cutting through the dark, the city's neon glow reflecting off my windshield. The rage inside me wasn't burning hot anymore. It was cold, calculated. Emily had made a fool of me. She had disrespected me. And she thought she could talk her way out of it like always. Not this time. By the time I pulled into a hotel parking lot, I had a plan. I wasn't going to lash out. I wasn't going to argue. I was going to hit her where it hurt the most. Her comfort, her security, her easy little life. I booked a room, paid in cash, and sat on the bed with my laptop. First things first, I changed every password on every shared account we had. Bank accounts, credit cards, streaming services, even the damn grocery delivery app. Next, I sent an email to my lawyer. Subject line, urgent. Emily didn't know it, but I had been smart when we got married. Prenup. Ironclad. She had rolled her eyes when I insisted on it years ago, called it unromantic. But I hadn't budged. Now it was my best weapon. I made a list. Assets in my name. Joint assets I could liquidate before she realized what was happening. The house, oh the house. That was going up for sale first thing in the morning. Then, I did something I knew would make her world crumble. I sent a message to her parents. Simple. Direct. You might want to check on your daughter. She's about to lose everything. Then, for the final touch, I found her little side piece on social media. The guy had a girlfriend. Of course he did. I sent her the video. No words. No explanation. Just the cold, hard evidence of what kind of man she was dating. By the time I shut my laptop, I felt lighter. Not happy. Not satisfied. But in control. Emily thought she could play me. She thought she could lie, cheat, and walk away without consequences. She had no idea what was coming next. I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing. It was relentless. Call after call, message after message. I knew exactly who it was before I even looked. Emily. I let it ring. Then another number popped up. Her mother. I smirked and ignored that one too. I stretched, rolled out of bed, and checked my emails. My lawyer had already responded. He was setting everything in motion. Freezing assets, filing the paperwork, making sure Emily had no way to drain me before I could cut her off completely. I grabbed a coffee from the hotel lobby and sat back, watching the chaos unfold from a distance. Then, just as I was about to take a sip, I got the text that made my morning. "You son of a BH. What the F **** did you do?" There it was. The panic. The desperation. I let her sit in it for a while. Then I responded. "I'm doing what I should have done the second I saw what kind of woman you really are." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. She was typing and deleting, probably trying to come up with some excuse, some way to manipulate the situation. I put my phone down and checked the real estate app. My agent had already listed the house. That was step 1. Step 2 was making sure she had no safety net. I called our joint insurance company and removed her from my policies. Called the credit card company and reported her card as lost. Anything she had access to under my name was about to disappear. Then I got another message. "We need to talk. Face to face." I laughed. "Sure. Let's talk." I told her to meet me at a coffee shop downtown. Public place. Neutral ground. I wanted to see her face when she realized just how screwed she was. I arrived first, took a seat near the window, and watched the door. 10 minutes later, she walked in, sunglasses on, lips pressed into a tight line. She spotted me, took a deep breath, and marched over. "Alex," she started, sliding into the seat across from me. I sipped my coffee, silent. She pulled off her sunglasses, eyes red and puffy. "You've made your point. Okay, I get it, but you're going too far." I raised an eyebrow. "Too far?" She gestured wildly. "Selling the house? Cutting off my cards? Telling my parents? Do you have any idea what you've done?" I set my cup down. "You mean, do I have any idea what you did?" She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, Alex. Yes, I screwed up. I made a mistake." I leaned in. "A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. A mistake is saying something you don't mean in an argument. What you did, that wasn't a mistake. That was a choice." She exhaled sharply, shaking her head. I was confused. I laughed. A real, genuine laugh. "Confused? You weren't confused when you were lying to my face. You weren't confused when you were sneaking around. You weren't confused when you let me touch you knowing damn well you were with someone else." She flinched. "Good. Alex, I held up a hand. "Save it. I didn't come here to hear your excuses. I came here to let you know exactly what's going to happen next." Her posture stiffened. 1. The divorce papers will be on your desk by the end of the day. You're not getting a dime. 2. You have 24 hours to get your ***T out of my house before the locks are changed. 3. If you ever try to contact me again, I will make sure every single person in your life knows exactly what kind of person you are." Her mouth opened, then closed. For the first time, she looked genuinely scared. Then, just as I thought she might actually take some accountability, she scoffed. "You're such a bitter little man," she spat. "You act like you're some big mastermind, but you're just petty." I smiled. "You're damn right I'm petty. And guess what? Petty people make sure cheaters don't walk away unscathed." She stood abruptly, knocking over her chair. The entire cafe turned to look. I just sat back, sipped my coffee, and enjoyed the show. Emily clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms as she glared at me. I could see the rage bubbling under the surface, but there was something else too, fear. Good. She should be afraid. She had spent months lying, manipulating, sneaking around behind my back like I was some clueless fool. She thought she could play her little game and walk away unscathed. Not this time. She scoffed again, shaking her head like I was the one being unreasonable. "You know what, Alex? I never loved you." I almost laughed. That was her big move? After everything, that was supposed to hurt me? Yeah? That's funny because you sure loved spending my money. You sure loved living in that house I bought. You sure loved pretending. Huh? Her jaw tightened. "You think this is some kind of victory for you? You're just pathetic. You couldn't satisfy me, so I found someone who could. Get over it." There it was. The venom. The real Emily. I leaned back, calm, unfazed. That's the best you've got? You're grasping at straws now, Em. Her nostrils flared. She wanted to hurt me, wanted to cut deep, but I was already past that. The moment I found out what she had been doing, she lost all power over me. You're a coward, she hissed. A real man would have fought for me. I smirked. A real woman wouldn't have needed to be fought for. She grabbed her purse and turned to leave, but before she could storm off in dramatic fashion, I spoke again. Oh, by the way, I said casually, stirring my coffee, you might want to get yourself checked. She froze. Slowly, she turned back around, her expression shifting from fury to confusion to something close to dread. What? I shrugged. Figured I'd do the responsible thing and let you know. After all, it's only fair since you didn't bother telling me. Her face went pale. You're lying. Am I? I tilted my head. Would you bet your health on that? For the first time since she sat down, she looked genuinely shaken. She was replaying everything in her mind now. Every time she'd been with me, every time she'd been with him, wondering, what if? I watched as the panic set in. Good. Let her feel the uncertainty. The same uncertainty she left me with. You're sick, she whispered. I smiled. No, I'm just done playing nice. She turned on her heel and practically ran out of the cafe. I sat back, enjoying my coffee as the door slammed behind her. And just like that, she was out of my life. I paid for my drink and left, stepping out into the crisp air, feeling lighter than I had in months. There was no sadness, no regret, only a sense of satisfaction. She thought she could cheat, lie, and walk away without consequences. She thought she had all the control. Not anymore. By the time I got back to my hotel, my lawyer had sent over the finalized divorce papers. Everything was moving faster than I expected. The house was already getting offers, her bank access had been revoked, and the legal documents ensured she wouldn't see a dime from me. I had won. But just as I was about to pour myself a drink to celebrate, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered. Silence. Then a shaky breath. Alex. It was Emily. I smiled. Lose something? Her voice cracked. We need to talk. I laughed, shaking my head. We really don't. Please, she said. And for the first time, she actually sounded desperate. Not angry, not manipulative, just scared. I leaned against the counter, debating whether I even cared enough to hear what she had to say. But then I decided, why not? I wanted to hear her beg. Her breathing was uneven, like she was trying to keep herself together, but failing. Alex, please, You just what? I interrupted, my voice cold. Need another lie to spin? Another excuse? Another way to make yourself the victim? She hesitated. I could feel the weight of her silence, the gears in her mind turning, trying to figure out which version of herself she should play now. The remorseful wife? The angry, scorned woman? The manipulative seductress? She had worn all those masks before, but I had ripped them off one by one. I need to see you, she finally said, voice shaking. It's important. I laughed, genuinely amused. Emily, there is nothing you could say that I want to hear. A sharp inhale on the other end. It's not about you. That made me pause. She had always been selfish, always made everything about herself. But now, that was an interesting shift. I let the silence stretch, forcing her to continue. I need to know, she whispered. Are you serious? About what you said? So that's what this was. Fear. Good. I don't say things I don't mean, I replied simply. Unlike you. She swallowed audibly. Alex, if this is true, you'll what, Emily? I cut in, my patience running thin. Cry? Apologize? Swear you didn't mean to hurt me? Don't waste my time. I never wanted this, she blurted out, her voice breaking. I clenched my jaw. You never wanted to get caught. Silence. Bullseye. Her breath hitched. You don't understand. No, you don't understand. I snapped, my voice sharp now. You made your choices, Emily. You had a husband who would have done anything for you, and you threw it away for some cheap thrills. You disrespected me, you lied to me, and now? Now you want sympathy? You don't deserve it. A choked sob escaped her. I made a mistake. I smiled, but it was bitter. No, Emily. A mistake is forgetting your keys. A mistake is saying the wrong thing in an argument. What you did, that was a decision. Repeatedly. Over and over again. She didn't respond. I let out a sigh, suddenly bored of this conversation. I don't owe you anything. Not my time, not my sympathy, and definitely not my forgiveness. You made your bed. Lie in it. She inhaled sharply, like she was about to say something else, but I ended the call before she could. I stared at my phone for a moment, then tossed it onto the counter. There. That was the last piece of closure I needed. She was afraid, she was broken, and she had to live with the consequences of her own choices. I poured myself a drink, taking a slow sip as I stared out the window of my hotel room. The city lights stretched out in front of me, endless possibilities waiting. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly free. I placed the glass down, feeling the weight lift off my shoulders with every passing second. For weeks, I had been consumed by anger, by the burning need for revenge, for justice. Now, after hearing her broken voice, I realized something. I had already won. Emily wasn't my problem anymore. She was her own destruction. A knock at the door pulled me from my thoughts. I frowned, setting the glass aside and walking over. When I opened it, I wasn't sure what I had expected, but it definitely wasn't him. Ryan, Emily's other mistake. He stood there, his usually confident smirk replaced by something uncertain, hesitant. He was holding a beer in one hand like this was some casual meetup. I let the silence stretch, not moving an inch, forcing him to explain himself. Can we talk? He finally asked. I let out a dry laugh. You got some nerve showing up here. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Look, man, I get it. You hate me. You probably want to break my face. And honestly, I deserve it. I said nothing. I didn't come here to fight, he continued. I just needed to say something. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside, letting him in. Ryan walked in slowly, taking in the hotel room, then placed the beer on the counter. I know you don't want to hear it, but I'm sorry, I scoffed, crossing my arms. That's supposed to mean something? He exhaled. No, probably not. But I need you to know that I didn't set out to screw you over. I didn't plan this. It just happened. I rolled my eyes. Asterisk, it just happened, asterisk. I repeated mockingly. That's the best you've got? He grimaced. I know it sounds like bullsh asterisk T. Because it is bullsh asterisk T. He sighed. Man, I don't even know why I'm here. I keep thinking about everything. I was an idiot. I thought I had something real with her. But the second things got complicated. The second she realized she might actually lose everything, she ran. I finished for him. He nodded, looking down. Yeah. And that's when I realized. She never really gave sh*t about either of us. I leaned back against the counter, staring at him. She's been calling me, Ryan admitted, shaking his head, begging, saying she made a mistake, that she still loves me, all that crap. He let out a bitter laugh. The same exact words she probably told you. I smirked. So what? You here for relationship advice? He let out a dry chuckle. Hell no. I'm done with her. He exhaled. I just needed to look you in the eye and say it. I was a d*ck. I was selfish. I should have walked away the second I knew she was married. I didn't. And I regret it. I studied him. He looked exhausted. Not physically, mentally. Why are you really here, Ryan? I asked, my voice quieter now. He hesitated, then sighed. Because I lost a bet. I frowned. What? Ryan smirked, but it was humorless. A couple of our mutual friends bet me that I wouldn't have the balls to come here and say all this to your face. I told them I could, that I should. So, here I am. I stared at him for a long moment. Then, to my own surprise, I laughed. Not out of amusement. Not out of mockery. Just because the whole damn situation was so stupid. Here we were, two men who had been played by the same woman. standing in a hotel room, drinking beer, comparing war stories. It was pathetic. And yet, it was closure. I grabbed the second beer from the counter, cracked it open, and took a sip. You lost the bet, huh? Ryan smirked. Yeah. But somehow, I still feel like I won. I nodded, staring out the window. For the first time in a long time, I felt the same way. Ryan sat down on the chair by the window, swirling his beer in his hand like he was deep in thought. I could tell there was more on his mind, but I didn't push. If he had something else to say, he'd get there. Instead, I leaned against the counter, letting the moment settle. The past few weeks had been chaos, a storm of emotions, rage, betrayal, and exhaustion. And now I was standing here with the guy I once wanted to rip apart, both of us realizing we'd been played by the same woman. You ever wonder, Ryan finally spoke, if she actually loved either of us? I exhaled, taking another sip. Nah, not anymore. He looked at me, waiting. I shrugged. If she did, it didn't mean *T. Love isn't just words, it's actions. And her actions? They told me everything I needed to know. Ryan nodded slowly. Yeah. He took a deep breath. She's gonna crash and burn, isn't she? I smirked. Already is. I pulled my phone out and tossed it onto the table between us. The screen was still open to the last message I got from her. Jessica ***, Harry, please. I don't know what to do. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Just talk to me. **. Ryan stared at the message for a long time before shaking his head. Damn. Yeah. I took another sip. She's spiraling. Thought she could juggle both of us. But the second it all came crashing down, she realized she was alone. He let out a breath. And what do you feel about that? I thought about it. A month ago, I would have said rage. Pure, blinding rage. But now, nothing, I admitted. And that's how I know I won. Ryan smirked, raising his bottle. Cheers to that. We clinked bottles, taking a slow sip. For a while, we just sat there. Two men who'd been burned by the same fire, both realizing we'd walked away without any real scars. Not the ones that mattered, anyway. After a few minutes, Ryan stood up. I should go. I've got some things to figure out. I nodded, standing with him. Same here. He walked to the door, then hesitated. You ever think about revenge? I tilted my head. What do you mean? He glanced back. You've already won, sure. But a woman like her? She doesn't just deserve to lose. She deserves to feel it. I watched him for a moment, then smirked. Oh, trust me. She's gonna feel it. Ryan left, and I stood there for a moment, letting the silence settle. The house felt different now, emptier but not in a bad way. Lighter, like a weight had been lifted off my chest. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through the string of messages from Jessica. Desperate, apologetic, full of the same manipulative bulls **T she always pulled when she was backed into a corner. I didn't respond. I had nothing left to say. Instead, I focused on what came next. Jessica thought she could play me, use me, and then walk away like it was nothing. She expected tears, begging, maybe even a second chance. What she didn't expect was for me to pull the rug out from under her so fast she wouldn't even know which way was up. The first step had already been set in motion. The house? Sold. Quietly, efficiently. The papers were finalized last week, and in 2 days, movers would show up to clear out the place. Jessica didn't know yet. She still thought she had time, that this was just a fight that could be fixed. By the time she figured it out, she'd be locked out of everything. Bank accounts? Transferred. Joint assets? Liquidated. Everything I could take, I took. She had no idea, still living in her delusion that she could crawl back when things got tough. The best part? She had no clue she was about to be homeless. I leaned back in my chair, watching the city lights through the window, imagining the moment she'd come back to the house and find the locks changed. The way her stomach would drop, the panic that would set in. She'd call me, maybe even show up at my office, but she'd find nothing, just a void where I used to be. It was exactly what she deserved. I had a meeting with my lawyer first thing in the morning. Jessica had no idea the divorce was already in motion. Not a clean one, not a quiet one. The prenuptial agreement we signed when we first got married? Rock solid. And with the evidence I had against her, her affair, her financial missteps, the STD she gave me, she wasn't getting a damn thing. If anything, she'd owe me. I smiled at the thought, tapping my fingers against the counter. She thought she was the mastermind, the one in control. But she played the wrong man. And now, she was about to lose everything. The next morning, I sat in my lawyer's office, sipping coffee while he finalized the paperwork. Thomas Whitaker was the best in the business. Cold, ruthless, and thorough. The kind of guy who didn't waste time on sympathy, just results. She's gonna lose big, he said, flipping through the documents. Between the prenuptial agreement, the financial evidence, and the medical records, there's no judge in this state that'll give her a dime. Good, I said, leaning back in my chair. He glanced up at me. You sure you don't want to drag this out a bit? Make her squirm. She's already gonna suffer. I don't need to watch it in slow motion. Thomas smirked. Fair enough. The papers will be served this afternoon. I left his office feeling lighter, but I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. Jessica still didn't know. I wanted her to feel it first. The uncertainty, the confusion, the fear. She needed to realize she was about to hit rock bottom before she even got the papers. I went home knowing she'd be there soon. She always came by in the afternoons, probably thinking she could fix things. The delusion was almost impressive. Right on cue, I heard the front door unlock. She stepped inside, and I didn't even turn around. Harry! Her voice was soft, fake concern laced in every syllable. I've been calling you. I sipped my coffee. I know. She hesitated. We need to talk. No, you need to talk. I don't need to hear a damn thing. Jessica sighed, walking closer. I made a mistake. I was lost. Save it. I finally turned to look at her. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. Over and over again. She swallowed, probably realizing her usual script wasn't going to work this time. I love you, Harry. I laughed. Actually laughed. That threw her off. Jessica, you don't love me. You love what I gave you. The house. The security. The convenience. You love that I never questioned where you were. That I trusted you enough to not check your damn phone. You love that I made life easy for you. She shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. That's not true. Really? I raised an eyebrow. Then tell me, did you ever stop? Did you ever feel guilty enough to not meet up with him? Or did you just cry in the mirror after and do it again the next night? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. That was answer enough. I sighed. Check your bank account. Her phone was already in her hand before I finished the sentence. I watched her eyes scan the screen, confusion morphing into full-blown panic. Where is it? Gone. I set my coffee down. The savings, the joint account, everything you thought you had access to. Moved. Legally. Her hands started shaking. You can't do that. I grinned. I did do that. She looked at me, truly looked at me, and for the first time I saw it. The moment she realized she had nothing left. Jessica wasn't sad. She wasn't heartbroken. She was terrified. Harry, please, she whispered. We can fix this. There is no we anymore. I stood up. And in case it wasn't obvious, this house? Not yours anymore either. She looked around, like she was just now noticing the missing furniture, the packed boxes in the corner. No. She shook her head violently. No, this is our home. You wouldn't do this. I smiled. You'll get the official notice soon, but let me be the first to welcome you to homelessness. Her breath hitched. You're kicking me out? I shrugged. Didn't seem to bother you when you were spending the night with him. Tears streamed down her face now, but they meant nothing. I walked past her, grabbed my car keys, and headed for the door. Where are you going? She asked, voice cracking. Anywhere but here. I didn't even look back. Behind me, I heard her collapse onto the floor, sobbing. But I felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. Harry stepped outside, inhaling the crisp morning air as the first rays of sunlight painted the sky in soft oranges and blues. The weight on his chest, the one that had been crushing him since the night he walked in on Jessica's betrayal, was finally gone. He had won. Jessica had lost everything. Her home, her security, her easy life. He had made sure of that. The look of pure devastation on her face when she realized she had nothing left was more satisfying than any argument, any revenge plot, any dramatic confrontation could have ever been. She had called, texted, begged, and for a moment, he had been tempted to respond, to let her hear his voice one last time. But why? There was nothing left to say. She wasn't his problem anymore. As he leaned against his car, sipping his coffee, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Hey Harry, it's Emily. Just wanted to officially welcome you to the neighborhood. Coffee soon." He stared at the message for a moment before a small, amused smile tugged at his lips. A new place, a fresh start, a chance to finally live for himself. He took one last look at the house that had once been his prison, then slid into his car without a second thought. As he pulled away, he didn't feel anger. He didn't feel sadness, just peace.